Thank you. First and foremost, we will extend to each and every one of you individually and all of you together collectively our deepest appreciation at the co-creation of this interaction and the allowance of this transmission from our reality to yours in this way. Each and every time you afford us the opportunity to interact with all of you, you expand our awareness of all the ways that creation has of expressing itself, and so we thank you for the gift of allowing us to experience that expansion of the multidimensional crystal of creation. We would like to begin this particular transmission in the following way. You have been discussing for quite some time in your age of awareness, your age of cosmic expansion, the idea of dealing with balancing out polarity. You have experienced the idea of great polarity in your reality experience, and you understand that by balancing it out, you can allow yourself the opportunity to mitigate the effects of the negative side and give yourself the freedom to choose what you prefer from the positive side, unless of course you prefer the negative side, which many of you are saying you don't. But nevertheless, the idea is that balancing it all out will allow you to choose consciously and intentionally what you prefer. Now, the idea is that you have been thinking about this idea for a long time as polarity. But as many people are starting to realize, it really isn't the idea of polarity that is the nature of existence. The nature of existence is really a trinity. You have expressed this in a number of ways. The idea is that the balance point in the center is the third point. And the idea is that without that third point, without that trinity, without that balance point, then you are left dealing with the idea of polarity and all of the different kinds of experiences you have had within that particular domain. But if you are allowing yourself finally to recognize creation not just as a polarity, not just as a duality, but as a trinity, and you begin to allow yourself to awaken from that center point, which is where you really exist, in the here and now, in the present, in the center, then it is much easier to deal with the idea of the polarity of positive and negative on either side of that central third balance point, and you can allow yourself to lessen the effects that all of them have. You can neutralize all situations much more easily, and when they are all equally valid, when they are all equally neutral, then you can find that you have the ability to more effortlessly choose what you prefer without invalidating what you don't prefer. Remember that even negativity serves you in positive ways if you allow it to. Many people on your planet, because of the way they have been brought up, the way they have been taught to think, have a difficult time finding some of the positive ideas and applying them in their lives. Well, sometimes, because you're all very clever, you will go about it the opposite way. You will attract into your life something that is exactly the opposite of what you prefer in order to have a comparison, so that by seeing what you don't prefer so strongly, it makes it that much clearer what you do prefer. And thus you can use negative reality in a positive way by allowing it to remind you that that's not what you prefer so strongly that it finally allows you to move in the direction that you do prefer. In some ways, we have referred to this in the past as the rubber band analogy. You know that if you have a rubber band and you pull it back and pull it back and pull it back, the farther you pull it back, then of course once you let it go, it will snap that much farther and that much faster onto the other side. Well, you've been dealing with the idea of negativity for so long, with darkness for so long, so deeply, so profoundly, and you have pulled that rubber band back into the darkness so far. The good news is that when you finally let that go, you will snap that much farther, that much faster into the light. And that's what acceleration is all about. That's why it happens. So in a sense, again, you can see there are ways in which the idea of having explored negativity, once you let it go, can actually propel you and accelerate you in the direction of the light, in the direction of your true self, and allow you to experience all the fruits and the benefits of that release. Does this make sense to you? All right. So the idea, as you have labeled it, is that this is a time of what you have called cosmic awakening. What does that mean? All right, well, we'll tell you, thank you. The idea from our perspective is that you are awakening into the understanding that you are the cosmos. You are all that is. The idea of ascension, the idea of acceleration, the idea of consciousness expansion is, in a sense, at least from one perspective, the realization that you actually are the dimension of reality you previously thought you existed in. I'll repeat that. It's an awakening into the awareness that what you have called physical reality is not something that exists outside of you, it exists within you. It's your construction, your illusion, your projection, your creation in order to have a certain experience that you call space-time reality, in order to experience the idea of change, of self-discovery. Because if you exist in a timeless state, there is no change in a timeless state. If you want to experience a new perspective of yourself, you have to create the idea of forgetting who you are in a linear space-time framework in order to have the experience